It is about that time of the week, folks. It is time to be showing up. I'm showing up. I'm glad you showed up. I appreciate every single one of you. Do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all of that happy horse shit. And first things first, it is time for the periodic reminder that this channel doesn't look or act or sound like other YouTube channels for a reason. Every so often I get a commenter on the channel, or I get somebody sends me a message on Discord, or somebody replies to an announcement of a video on Blue Sky or on Tumblr, and they'll say something along the lines of, what you are doing is not an effective way to grow a YouTube channel. And that's true. It's not. One of the things I say fairly frequently is that efficiency is bad for things you care about, which is to say that if you try to do something as fast as possible with minimal effort, you're going to have to cut corners. And because you're going to have to cut corners, you're going to produce an inferior product. And presumably you care about your product. What I am doing right now on this channel has really nothing to do with growing an audience. If you want to be in the audience for this channel right now, y'all are some fucking true believers, I'll tell you what, because this channel is absolute garbage sometimes. And even at the best of times, it's not that good. It's not that useful. It's not that helpful. It's not that productive. And it's not supposed to be, because at the moment, the videos I post on this channel and the essays that I post on Substack are me getting used to putting my stuff out there. They're me training myself into consistency. And I'm not 100% on this yet. I frequently don't get the Wednesday video done before the end of Wednesday. I get it done in the wee hours of Thursday morning, and I'm unhappy with that. So that's kind of the thing that I'm working on right now. Is I want to get the Wednesday video out on time. I want to get the Sunday video out on time. Now, it's okay for the Sunday video to come out in the wee hours of the morning. That's when it's supposed to come out. But the Wednesday video is supposed to come out on Wednesday. And I'm not happy with the idea that it doesn't. So that's currently the problem that I'm working on. I'm working on my consistency. I'm working on my reliability. Because the first thing is, I want to get things out on the day they're supposed to come out. And there's going to be a third video every week eventually. At some point, there's going to be a third video every week. And kind of the notion that I have on it is that there's going to be a Wednesday video, and there's going to be a Friday video, and there's going to be the Sunday video. And then on Monday, there's going to be an essay on Substack that is a wrap-up of what I did in those 3 videos, along with links to them. So the Substack is going to become like the archive of this channel, and it's going to have that, and that's going to be where things are, and it's going to be easy to search and easy to find stuff. And at present, the Substack isn't monetized. I don't know when or if it ever will be. The YouTube channel is not monetized. I don't think it's ever going to be. If I make something that I think you should pay for, I actually have a Subscribestar account where I would put that, and I would go, okay, the stuff that goes behind a paywall is over on the Subscribestar account, where it's like, I think I've got it set at $20 a month. Don't subscribe to it. There's nothing there. Like, literally, I posted one video 4 years ago. That was it. And I'm not pushing forward on that in any way. But the process I'm going through right now is I am working myself into a position where I can just get the videos out. Once I'm getting the videos out there, then I can start working toward making them, actually productive and useful and helpful. But for the foreseeable future, these videos are not going to be planned. They're not going to be scripted. They're not going to be edited. I'm going to record them live, and I'm going to upload them as soon as I am done with them. That's the way it's going to work until I can do that consistently, until I can consistently get the Wednesday video and the Sunday video out on the day they're supposed to get out, and I can write my little essay on Substack, which currently is just like whatever the fuck I want to write. It's not any relation to what I'm doing here. Once I get to the point that I'm doing that, I'm going to add the Friday video. And once I add the Friday video, I'm going to be working toward a position where what I want to start doing is I want the videos to come out at a reliable time every day. That's when we're going to start scheduling. That's when I'm still going to be doing the videos live, but when I do them, they get scheduled to come out at a specific time. And I'm going to do that for a while. And once I've done that for a while, and I think that's going well, then I will start thinking along the lines of, let's start planning out what these videos are going to be about. Let's start scripting what these videos are going to be about. Let's maybe think about once I'm planning out the videos and meeting the plan and getting the videos out, and I'm starting to get the videos to like a target length and on a target subject. Once I get to that point, then I got to start thinking about maybe we'll want to edit the videos. Maybe we want to go in and kind of slick up the production a little bit. But for the moment, that's in the future. I don't really have a time frame on that. It's going to take as long as it takes. And that's just the way it is. I'm fine with that. And those of you that are here now should be aware that it's going to be a long time before this video is really, like, valuable. Okay? So I really appreciate that you're here during the early days when I suck at this shit. But you have to do a lot of bad work before you could do any good work. You can't do good work without doing bad work. You got to get in and do the bad work. And there are a lot of people right now who are looking at me doing the bad work, and they're going, man, you're doing bad work. I'll get to the good work eventually. I don't know when. I'm not sure what that'll look like. But kind of the vision that I have for it, which may change, but the vision that I have for it right now is that on Wednesday, I will talk about, programming. And on Friday, I will talk about, you know what, I will probably swap those. On Wednesday, I will talk about sound and music and audio for the game. And on Friday, I'll talk about the actual programming and the coding and the architecture and features and design and such as that. And on Sunday, it will be about the visual art. It will be about the painting and the sprites and the animation and all that sort of thing and the character design, all that sort of stuff. And then on Monday, all of that will get wrapped up, and it'll just be like, here's the audio video, here's the sound video, and here's the coding video, and here's the art video. And that'll go out on Mondays on Substack, and of course, if you're just on YouTube and subscribed, you'll get notifications and whatnot. But that's kind of the vision that I have, is to do, there's a video on sound, and there's a video on programming, and there's a video on art. And all of those focus not so much on teaching specific things as on talking about what was done over the last week and why it was done that way. And I think in the natural course of that, I'll cover a lot of things that people want to know and want to learn and that sort of stuff. So, that said, this being Sunday, let's talk about music, because that's what I'm doing lately is music. So, let's jump into LMMS here. And you can see here I've got a lot of stuff. Let me start out by observing this is kind of where we started, which is a theme from the old NES game Legacy of the Wizard that I just thought was really fucking cool and have recreated here from memory because it's been stuck in my head all these years. Now, last time I was talking about this music, I was saying that it was in F minor, but then it modulates up to A minor. And then I got to thinking about that, and I was like, does it? And I looked at it more closely, and it actually looks to me like it's in the Phrygian mode of F. Because I've got the Phrygian scale noted. You see right here, I've got the scales dropped down, and I've chosen Phrygian. And if I right-click on the F and say mark the current scale, then this is all of the Phrygian mode notes, and you see that the only thing I've got outside of that is this one G natural right here in the middle of the second bar. Whereas if I started from the minor scale, if I started from F minor, right here, you'll notice that here I've got this one sort of way up here on the top, I've got an F sharp that doesn't belong. So no matter what I do, I've got one note in the entire thing that doesn't belong. But I think that Phrygian actually fits here, because Phrygian is kind of a medieval sort of scale, and it's kind of cool. A lot of heavy metal is in Phrygian mode. It's Phrygian mode is when you begin your scale is if you're on the note E. So it'd be E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. And that's how that scale works. That's always the way that I've thought of the modes. Is it's like the major scale, but shifted over. You just start at a different point. If you think of the major scale as a circle instead of as a if you think of it as a circle instead of as a line, and you just go, we're going to start at a different note, and you go around the circle. The sequence is just it's offset by a few steps. I don't know if that makes any sense, but anyway, I started from that, and I went, okay, I'm going to start from that, and I'm going to try and make something that's similar. So then I did this. I'm just gonna say it. That's garbage. That's like that. That's dog shit. That is terrible. It's really, really awful. So I was not happy with that. And what I do is whenever I have something that I've been working with and I decide it's really awful. And first of all, I do want to point out that as you go through this, everything fits in Phrygian mode, except right here at the end. Right here at the end, we have got this G natural, which is the same note that we had sitting outside Phrygian in the original tune. It's just that mine's at the end instead of in the beginning. So what I did was, I did what I always do, which was I let this run on loop for a really, really long time. And every time it occurred to me that I know how to make that better. I know how to improve that. I just went in and changed something. So after letting that run for hours and hours and hours and just coming back to it every few minutes and going, oh, that's shit, I need to change that. This is what I ended up with. Now, I don't think this is great, but it is catchy. It does kind of stick in my head. And of course, the next thing I need to do is I need to come up with a bass line. So I went and I started working with a bass line, and I did this. Now, funnily enough, this is also dog shit. So, funny thing that, you know, your first take at doing anything is basically dog shit. So I went in and I let that run, and every time I went, I know how to fix that. I came in and fixed it, and then I ended up with this, which is not that different, but all of the notes have changed. So that's better. And at this point, I jump in and I add the next element, which is we need to have a kick drum. We need to have that 4 on the floor kick. And you'll notice that I have got this set to a tempo of 80 beats per minute. That's all the way up here in the corner. Okay, you see the little cursor moving there next to tempo. It's at 80 beats per minute. Now, this feels right for the melody, but in order to put the kick in a place where it feels like it has energy, it's not 4 on the floor. It's 8 out of the gate. Because what I've done here is, instead of programming the kick drum like it's 80 beats per minute, I've double timed it so it feels like 160. So I end up with this. That's awfully quiet. And because that's awfully quiet, I have a couple of choices. Now, one of the things that you'll notice in these melodies, if I come in and I bring up the synthesizer, this is Nescalin, which is an emulation of the Nintendo NES sound chip. The NES could make 5 sounds at once. The NES did have a rudimentary primitive sampler, but it's hard to do digital samples with the limited amount of RAM and cartridge ROM that they had. So so when this was used, it was more of a gimmick than something that actually got made use of. Anyway, up here on the top, you have channel 1, which is this is our baseline sound. It's the standard square wave on a 12.5% duty cycle. And then the next one down, this is our lead right here, is this is another square wave. This one is on a 50% duty cycle, which is to say it's an even square wave. It's a standard square wave with regular width, whereas the bass is an impulse train at 1/8 of the frequency width on the pulse. Then there's a triangle wave, and the triangle wave is a little bit different. It's kind of mellow. And it's the closest thing we have to a sine wave. So building a kick drum, we're going to build that out of the triangle wave because it's the closest thing we've got to a sine wave, and pitch shifting a sine wave is how you make a shitty bass drum. Then there's the noise channel. That's just noise. So at any given point in time, the NES could play exactly 4 sounds at once. One of each of these sounds, and then there was the 5th for the sample, but that didn't get used a whole lot, and that's not really on the chip. So to make this feel like old school video game music, okay, we're going to use this, I'll use the drum right here. We're going to use the triangle wave and the noise to make a kick drum sound, which you'll miss if you don't listen. Yeah, that's not very good. Now, at this point, what I have to do is I have to cheat. And there are a number of ways that I can cheat. One of them is that I can crank up the volume on this channel. Another one is I can use a low-pass filter over here to emphasize some frequencies. Now we've got a bit more of an attack, because what I'm doing with this is, if you look at the frequency cutoff, it's at 65, which is about the range where a bass drum happens, okay? And I've got the resonance up around, I've got it up a little over 5, which is like the midway point. And that's designed to create a peak around the 65 hertz range, so it's right in the range of a high-pitched bass drum, okay? Usually a bass drum will happen somewhere between about 50 and 60 hertz. I've got this one up around 65 because I want it to be a little bit more present, okay? Now I've got using the low-pass filter as one option, but another option is I can use the effects chain and I can put distortion on this. That's a little louder. That's a little better. Okay, I can add more distortion. That doesn't really help. Okay, that's probably a bad idea. That's the pointer cast distortion. Yeah, I've got that. I've messed something up on that, so it creates problems. So anyway, I can use that distortion to give it a little more presence, or I can do both. Now this is cheating because we don't have those effects on the original NES. But in addition, there's another thing that I can do, and that other thing is I can just double or triple up the kicks. So that's a thing I can do. There's nothing wrong with that. tripling everything up. But again, that's not something the NES can typically do. But I've got to break the rules somehow, and I want to break the rules anyway. I want to kind of break a few more rules as we go. And one of those rules that I break, you'll notice at the end of my melody here, at the end of the melody, I do this kind of building chord right here. Why is that not playing? Why am I not getting any sound off of it? But there's the, ooh, shit. Ooh, what just happened there? Something bad has happened. Oh no, I just like scrolled up or something. But if we come over here, what is that? Is that the record? Ooh, yeah. It's a good thing I wasn't actually playing anything on my MIDI device, or that probably would have messed stuff up and I would have had to mess around. Well, it doesn't matter. I've got multiple copies of this sequence. Anyway, down at the end of this, you can see that I have this building chord, all right? And that building chord, your first time through this, now, as we're listening to this, you need to kind of think that we're doing this building process. And because we're doing a building process, it kind of comes out like this. Then we get our kick drums come in. And then our melody hits. Now, as we get farther through the melody, as we move farther into this, when we get to the end of this, now remember, about 12 seconds into this, we got kick drums that the NES cannot normally synthesize. And now, here we are 44 seconds in. We have a chord that the NES cannot actually play. So what I'm doing here is, as we move farther into the song, it doesn't sound like I'm doing anything ridiculous. But right as we get to the 44-second mark, is it the 44-second mark? It's the 45-second mark. At 45 seconds, we get a chord on the square wave of the NES synthesizer that is impossible to do on an actual NES, which kind of gets across that we're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. So one of the things that I did, one of the things that I messed with was I tried to do this in a way that actually would have been possible on the NES, and that came out kind of like doing this. It's the same thing for the first 21 seconds of it. But as you get to the end of it, I use automation on the controls to turn on more generators and build the chord. And that's what it would have sounded like on an original NES. But that was a lot of work for a fairly small effect. And because the effect is fairly small, and because the effect isn't really all that great, it doesn't sound really good. And because it doesn't sound really good, I mean, it sounds okay, it's not bad. It's what you would have had to do on the original NES. But the thing is, all that trouble to produce an effect that simulates the actual limitations of the NES sound hardware, that is a feat which plays to a vanishingly small audience. Nobody fucking cares. The number of people who get that I did this is so tiny. It's such a tiny fraction of the audience. It's just not worth the amount of trouble involved. So because of that, I just went ahead and did the building chord. Now, it's not going to loop at that point. What we have here is 16 bars at 80 beats a minute. And 80 beats a minute, when we talk about beats per minute, we're talking about quarter beats, not whole notes. So because we're talking about quarter beats, this is actually 20 whole notes or 20 measures per minute. And lo and behold, 20 is a factor of 60. So every measure of this track that I'm putting together is exactly 3 seconds long. Just perfect. That's exactly what I want. Because it means that I get exactly 20 measures of music per minute. At this point right here, from here to here is exactly 1 minute of music. And because of that, I can look at the timeline. I can look at what's on the timeline. I can look at what music is playing, and I know exactly what the timer is on the level. So because I know exactly what the timer is on the level, I know exactly what's happening in the game because I've decided at what time certain events are going to occur in the game, which means if I make the music track as long as the level, or even longer, I know exactly what music is playing when things happen. And I can synchronize events to the music. I really like that. I really like being able to do that. What kind of stuff am I going to do with that? I don't fucking know. I'm going to do something. But the most important part of all of this, the most important element of all of this work that I'm doing here and all of this stuff that I'm putting together is that this track, as it stands right now, I can just sit and listen to it. I think it's really cool. Like if I loop it right here and I hit play, I can just let this play. I can let this loop, and I'm like, this grooves. This feels good. This feels like it could be the soundtrack of the game. It sticks in your head. It's catchy. It feels good. I like it. Now, I may want to mess around a little bit more with the bass line. I may want to mess around a little more with some other stuff. But the important thing is that because I can let this run and it's not annoying, it doesn't drive me fucking nuts, I sit there and go, this is pretty good. This kind of, not gonna lie, man, this kind of fucking slaps. This little 24-second loop here. Yeah, it's not a banger. It's not that good. But it's good. I can listen to it. Is it as good as the original track? Is it as good as the original? No, not even close. It just that was brilliant. I didn't do anything brilliant, okay? It's like I did okay. I did pretty good. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I'm happy with where it is, but I am under no illusions that I am some kind of brilliant musician who's going to make a timeless classic. That is not going to happen. that is not in the cards for this particular game. But what I want to do at this point, having gotten to the 48-second mark and advertised with that building chord, that we are going to go above and beyond the capabilities of the NES chip. It is at this point that I want to start getting more into more complex music. It's here that I want to kind of go past that. And this is also where fundamentally the vision I have of the early experience in this game is for that first few seconds is like during the first 12 seconds, it's going to look and feel like any other horde survival roguelite. It's another one of these. I've seen hundreds of these. I own like 30 of them. I've played hundreds of hours, possibly as much as 1,000 hours of these different horde survival roguelites. I've seen it before. It's been here before. And that first 12 seconds, you're just like, yeah, I've seen this before. And then in the next 12 seconds, things start to ramp up and you go, it's not bad. It's not a bad horde survival roguelite. I've seen it before, but it's kind of cool. And over the course of the next 24 seconds, what I want to happen is, at some point in there, you're going to have the first moment when you take out one of the perverts, and they drop the panties, and one of the other perverts gets them before you do. I want that to happen somewhere in there. And around the minute mark is when I want the first numbers to gather, where in your early character development, when you're not very good at the game, in that first minute, I want that to be the point where the numbers start to get big enough and you first have it kind of click in your head, oh man, because they're all so close together, every time I take one out and they drop the panties, the guy next to him picks up the panties. I want you to have that realization in that first minute. And I want that to really kind of sink in to somebody who's paying attention to what's going on and go, this is different. This is interesting. And I think somewhere around the second minute, is when people may first work out that that the playfield is infinite and wraps around. But I have a spatial partitioning thing to solve before I can make that work, because here's kind of the issue. The playfield wraps around in the sense that you can walk forever in one direction, but it doesn't wrap around in the sense that if you keep going north, you wrap around to the south and can pick up the things that you left behind as you were going north. I want to get that fixed. And I think the way that I do that is every time you drop something, every time you drop something, it has to be made a child of the playfield quadrant in which it was dropped. And then, when that quadrant is moved, when that's swapped down or up, it'll be swapped into place, and all of its children will go with it. And because all of its children go with it, you'll find the stuff then. And I need to figure out what the edge cases are on that. I've been thinking about that for a while because I really want that to work. Now, I know that obstacles and whatnot on the field, those have to be spatially partitioned and moved around. But the next question, of course, is What about enemies? If you leave enemies long behind you, which you can, especially if you pick up anything that increases your speed, you can leave enemies behind you. You should be able to lap the enemies and come up behind them. And that would also, of course, present a hazard as you're doing that. So I think the enemies also need to be spatially partitioned. I think each of them needs to check whether it's outside of its parent. And if it is outside of its parent, it needs to parent itself to the correct quadrant. And I think if we do that, I think that'll fix everything. I think if we just do that whenever anything moves. We just do that whenever something moves, and we parent it when it's dropped, and we parent it whenever it moves, or just like check the boundaries at least. That's going to be interesting. I need to figure out how to do that. Anyway, that's kind of where things sit, and I'm fairly happy with the progress as it stands on the music. I like the bass line. I think the bass line kind of feels good for the beginning of the game, and then as it gets to right about here, this is about where you start to realize that things are different. And then after about another 12 seconds, things start to ramp up and you start to see, oh, this is actually going to be fun. This is actually going to be an interesting game. And I want the music to evolve as you go. I want it to become more and more majestic and just kind of, I want it to go farther and farther into like, I want it to do an EDM thing. I want it to do like a trance thing and have like chord stabs and stuff and all kinds of like interesting evolution of the track until eventually you're just like in full-on bro step and it's like vowel basses and growling and all of this like harsh noise going on. I just want it to go fucking insane as it grows, you know? Which is not all that difficult to do. I mean, it's a fairly simple process. It's just a matter of getting things together. And like as things stand now, I've got 48 seconds of usable music. And all I have to do is add like a little bit more in there and it becomes a minute. And then I could just do that 30 times. But it's the build. The build is what's going to be interesting. The build is what's going to make it. The build is what's going to make it different. If nothing else, I want people playing the game to go, "Fucking hell, this soundtrack slaps." If that's the only thing people take away from the game, if just because that's a little added incentive. If you want to hear more of the soundtrack, if you want to hear a little more of the soundtrack, that can push you to play one more round. And that's never a bad thing if you can just add that in there. Anyway, that's where things sit. Again, do a little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all that happy horse shit. I showed up. I'm glad you showed up. Okay, bye.